Hey guys, welcome back to OCD Real Talk. Today we wanted to talk about attitudes toward anxiety, which also include our mindset towards how we think of OCD, right? And how we think of anxiety itself. Um, and we also have an honorary guest on this call today who is basically sitting in Alexander's lap, which is, I think, amazing. By the way, is it like a he or she?
It is she.
She, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, she, what's her name?
It's like the cat that came to my house. We just like adopt him. So her, I'm sorry. So
Hmm.
like she doesn't have a name yet. We
I
we
get
just
that.
call her Kitty. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that
So
because I mean I have like two stray cats in my house which are like they're kind of outside but also inside as well. And
yeah,
we have adopted them, and because they've become a part of your routine, you don't name them, you just have these random
yeah.
like
And
there's one. Go ahead, go ahead.
she's very independent. She can go like for a few days and I don't see
Same,
her. And then
same.
she,
And like
yeah,
one of the stray cats is like really skinny, so we in my native language we literally just call her skinny then because that's just the
yeah.
way we then name them. Anyway, shifting back to OCD, but cats always take the spotlight.
Is
Anyway,
this not a cat talk? Is it OCD
oh,
or
I mean it can be, it can easily be.
I
Uh,
forgot about
we're all
it.
cat ladies over here. But but yeah, you should bring Baxter by the way sometime. I think
he's,
that'd be
he-
pretty nice.
he's looking at me. He's got
Yeah.
his eyes on.
He
I'm
he's
talking.
had he's had like a cameo appearance with the barking in the background once in a while, but yeah, all good. Um, Anyway, so Elliot suggested this topic. Elliot is always suggesting topics. He is hounding me with messages like, "We need to do this topic." No, I'm just
Someone's
kidding.
got
But but
very good.
because it's a really 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 relevant topic. Sam, since you have recently also like spoken to a lot more people in the WhatsApp groups and also on Facebook, like what would you say is what you see most commonly when people are talking about their OCD? What's the tone like? What's
Yeah.
the underlying like feeling about it like?
So I see this all the time. OCD is the worst thing ever. I absolutely hate my thoughts. My thoughts are disgusting. I cannot live with myself. I'm an evil, horrendous person. Why have I got OCD? Why has this happened to me? And it's just that self pity over and over and over again. Now, that gets us nowhere. Okay, we all understand and appreciate how difficult OCD is. All of us here have experienced that firsthand. We get the struggle, and I fully understand that. But if we spent all of our time complaining how bad it was, then we wouldn't be in the position we were today. Okay, we accept that, and you've got to look to overcome that. Okay, complaining and moaning and venting only gets us so it's a zero return investment because all you're going to care about is how bad you feel. Okay, yes, you're going to feel like crap. That's all part of the journey. It's bringing that along for the ride, getting used to that discomfort,
And
and
also, I just very quickly, that also does not mean that you cannot or should not acknowledge that it is like bloody difficult. And it really sucks the life out of you. Yes. But
yeah,
just the one thing is that if your primary conversation, words, tone, and everything is just around how bad it is and like why me, the why me kind of thing is there. That's where then you're only brewing that hatred within yourself and brewing that bitterness within yourself. And that's what's not helpful. So yes, I mean, because one of the things people say is that, wait, so I'm suffering so much, am I not allowed to talk about it? No, of course, like you can talk about it, but like if that's the
yeah,
one main thing that you're doing all day long, and when people are suffering chronically, that is something that they're doing all day long with friends, family, and their partners. It has to be something that like the talking about it and the complaining about it, that it is so difficult has to be cut down. because otherwise you're not giving yourself a break. You're not giving your brain a break over there.
We have to be very careful we're not playing that victim card all the time. And like you say, Mevin, like, why me? Why has this happened to me? Because, like I said, that's just not going to get you anywhere. But you're not downplaying. I talk about this a lot in my videos. I'm not downplaying the suffering. We get that. But it's such a fine line of OCD because, yes, reaching out for help when you are struggling, yes, that is crucial. But if all you talk about is OCD and how bad it is, that's not going to get you anywhere as well because
Yeah.
it's all only getting used to that discomfort.
Alexander, you were just talking about our OCD and how when you're suffering from OCD, like even when there are like difficult events around you in the world, which in on your end are, um, which are like obviously real life events that are happening, like the war situation with Ukraine, like you still OCD can even in those moments at times suck you into a little bit of a no, but like my relationship is more important over here. So can you talk a little bit about that and in those moments what OCD feels like? Well, I guess he decided to just. Oh, Alexander, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Go ahead.
And I'm sorry, I just heard the first part of the question,
Yeah,
like
I was just
about
saying, like,
how,
can you like explain and like
yeah.
that contrast that you were talking about, of how and even if it's not, if you even if you don't want to talk about the present moment, but generally throughout your journey, can you talk about how when real life events are also happening, they might be like really difficult, challenging things that are happening,
Mhm.
but the OCD thing that might be an actually like small concern feels like a bigger concern than that actual thing happening.
Yeah.
So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I guess we all know how CD is all consuming. It can latch to anything, and this thing that it's latching to feels the more important thing in the world, and we crave for this certainty and for relief. And we as we talked, it feels sometimes it feels so like kind of irrational to me that, as you told, even in this situation in Ukraine, when like there is threatening to all to life, there is threat to life of all Ukrainians because of artillery shelling and stuff like that. And when OCD legend, for example, to like if I am in the right relationship or not, and you can be really worrying about it, and things that are happening in real world seems like not so important. And when you like when it happened to me, and as I went through it, looking back, it seems like really even fun. I was thinking to myself how I could be so like consumed in this like problem, uh,
Yeah.
not real
And
problem, and
no,
not
exactly. And it's like, I mean, same with me as well. Like I would see, let's say, a news about, I don't know, people dying or like a really bad tragedy happening
yeah,
somewhere. And in my head, I'd be like, no, but I don't want to touch the light switch with my with my hand.
yeah,
And I need to wash my
absolutely.
hands like 100 times.
And here we come to the attitude to OCD, as Sam told in the world. I remember when I was stuck with it, I wished to myself cancer. I was dreaming that okay, I would be agreed to give my two feet, like just not having OCD.
Yeah.
And here it is when it shows how we can be really self-centered. When of yes, we suffer and it feels really bad, but a lot of people are going through a lot of problems, and it takes time to shift perspective and really see it, because yeah, it can consume us fully.
Yeah, Elliot. So you have also had like experience with that internal complaining cycle. So please tell us about it.
Yeah, so I remember when there were times when I just get so frustrated and just think, oh, I'm really stuck here. There's no way out. Like this is the absolute worst thing that I could ever experience. And like I remember I'd get really frustrated. So there was like one or two occasions when like I remember I was in a hotel room in Thailand and I just like smashed the room up. I remember I'd get in like sort of arguments sometimes with people on like nights out and
One
just
second, quick,
yeah.
curious question. Did you get charged for
To,
that?
to, to be fair, I did a runner, so I didn't get charged.
Yeah, you will
But
now.
yeah, but like I was so frustrated and like you know that feeling of OCD where you just feel like you're wired up to a fuse and like you just can't relax and I was just constantly on edge and like I'd go out like drinking a lot and I'd get into like arguments as well and I just thought you know what there's just no way out for me here. How on earth am I going to escape this? And I just used to get really frustrated. I think a lot of people have that, and obviously with that being frustrated with OCD, it just comes from the belief that you know I absolutely shouldn't be experiencing this. You know, this is the worst case scenario. And obviously, I know that we've just said there that OCD is bad, right? But you know, we need to try and not to awfulize it because that's what gets us into trouble, right? When you awfulize it and say it's the absolute worst thing that can happen, that is where like the trouble starts, right? And also when you're saying that it's so awful, right? You're saying that it's 100% awful, that like nothing could be worse. But when you look at it like that, there is definitely something that could be worse. For example, you could have OCD and chronic anxiety and you could be paralyzed or you could be blind or so having this belief that something is awful, it's like this definition that can never be met because nothing is ever 100% awful, right? And that's something that I've sort of really used to help me, even though it is bad, right? It is bad, but you
Yeah.
know,
And two things to that. Like, I think the first thing that I really wanted to touch on this is that one of the things that you see online all the time, which is number one, OCD is a monster, right?
mm,
Um, and the second thing is, or like OCD is a beast living in you. Or the other thing that is very commonly talked about is like OCD, people actually encouraging other people to think that OCD is a bully, right?
mm,
Now, the reason that I find that not helpful is because if you because I have been bullied in the past, right? And when I was in school, I have had like not very intense, but I've had like some phases with being bullied, right? Now,
mm,
if I start imagining that my internal emotional and mental cycle is a bully, every time it shows up, I'm not going to ever feel nice or pleasant or I mean, of course, we don't need to feel nice and pleasant about OCD, but you get what I mean? Like, whenever it shows up, it's going to immediately stimulate this hatred, right?
yeah,
And it's
yeah,
going to be this like vicious kind of internal response. Even if
yeah,
there's like a slight glimmer of anxiety, discomfort, trigger, whatever it is, I'm going to throw a fit about it. Like,
yeah,
why the hell is this here? I hate this. You need to go away. This must go away. And again, that it must go away. I need to get rid of this. It must be out of me. It fuels that entire thing. So viewing it as a beast, viewing it as a monster, viewing it as like a bully is also connected to that very important point. When we are also attaching these big kind of hateful also narratives to it, what also starts happening is that we start seeing OCD as this external force that has been imposed on us, whereas it's not an external force, it is us. It's what is going on in our head. So that relationship really has to change as well, because if you're going to see it as an external force, you're always going to be in a cycle to push it away, get rid of it, right?
yeah,
You're not going to it's going to be very difficult to come to a place of acceptance that your thoughts are a result of what you are thinking, of what your beliefs are. So it is an internal thing. It is you, right?
yeah,
That's making this happen. And that's where the actual change starts happening. Because otherwise it feeds that kind of really bad, bitter mood all the time about it.
yeah.
I mean, if you're labeling it as a bully or as a monster or as the worst thing ever, straight away you're on the back foot, aren't you?
Yeah.
Because oh my God, like it's like looking up at Mount Everest and going, how am I going to get over this? This is some bully. Yeah, if you look at it as, like you said, Moment, it is you, and just not, sorry, like if you're not comparing yourself with others as well. So let's say I've got OCD, so I can't do that. Now I did that all the time with using that as an excuse or playing that. Oh no, I can't do this, or you don't understand because I've got OCD, or you don't have to do this because I've got OCD. So I've got to sort of look after myself a bit more, and I've actually got to focus on life structure. So it's so easy to go down that victim mentality, isn't it?
And if OCD is a bully, if OCD is a bully, then you're a bully, basically. Because I mean, because it's your, again, it's your beliefs that are causing it. So, and because then you, as a result of it, you are extremely hard on yourself. So you ultimately, like, again, from that narrative of like, it is like OCD is a part of you, right? It is your brain that is doing this. So it is really key to remember that, because whenever it's about that external force, I see people landing in so much trouble just because of that, and it just never brings any form of like peace within. And fear is then fueled by this as well,
Yeah.
because anytime someone then has a setback, it's like, oh, this bully is back, I
Yeah.
need to like get rid and like get in that fight mode again. No.
So I was buying that there's a part of the book for Albert Ellis, How to Stubbornly Refuse to Make Yourself Miserable. One of the things in the book is, where is holding the belief that this is entirely awful getting me? Like, where's that belief actually getting you? Well, it's probably not getting you anywhere. It's probably just going to keep you stuck. And then just after that, it says, what bad things would happen if I let go of the belief that this is 100% awful? And when you look at it like that, you can actually sort of see it in a lot more of a better, a more healthy way. Um, so yeah, I think that's just
Even when suffering, Elliot, I'm sure you can relate to this. The things that you've done and the good thing and the stuff that you've enjoyed, even whilst in the midst of suffering.
yeah,
So straight away, if we're labeling it as a bully, you're saying, right, that's it. Life's totally not worth living, completely unbearable. But even at our worst, I did stuff that I still enjoyed. Yes, I probably wasn't in the moment and I wasn't present at that time, but I could still go. I could still, even though, like you said, it could be a lot worse than OCD. I could be paralyzed from the neck down. I might have lost a limb, there's serious illness, serious disease.
yeah.
But yes, we can still do stuff even with OCD firing away in the background.
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously just with Alex there as well, he's in a like a war zone as well, and you know that's just something an additional layer on top of it that could be seen as bad, but yet still that still probably isn't completely bad because it's impossible to reach. But what do I know? But it's just 100% awfulizing, I think, as well. It just can't be reached. It's just
I mean, what's really helped me as well is when I started viewing it as like a really strict teacher. So I
yeah,
remember setback to setback, and I'd be thinking, okay, like what is it teaching me now? Is sort of uncovering a core fear, and then over time, not compulsively trying to look for a fear as soon as I'm triggered, but over time, I could see it was similar sort of fears, like fear of rejection, fear of going to prison, fear of being abandoned by others. I could see that all these different themes were relating to that. So it then highlighted to me what I needed to work on. So it was like a strict teacher. Like as soon as you come out of place, it sort of hits you back in line.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's something that I wanted to add, that recovery process, we should see like a learning process for ourselves,
Yeah.
and how can we learn as we see it, as you guys mentioned, a bully, absolutely horrible thing, or as I also told some videos titled like OCD hates it. And it's like, again, it is perspective on OCD that it's something external that like tortures us, but as you mentioned, that it's us, and we should like from setback to setback. It's a really great perspective, and with another setback we can see it like as another learning level, so we can see where we should work, what's irrational in this setback and stuff like that. So
I
yeah.
think the other thing with this, like when talking about fear, right, and like the attitude towards that, because of course, like with fear, the primary thing is that if I'm stuck like this, or if I'm stuck with thoughts like this, even on like a medium level, even if it's not fully intense, it's still bad because I just don't want to have them, right? That kind of thing. I always, like, not always, like sometimes I do recommend like people that I work with to, let's say, make like a list of 10 things where particular to their fear, where let's say it's a fear of being trapped, right? Or fear of not having control, right? So I would say that make a list of 10 like situations of like hypothetical situations where other people are trapped, or they don't have a choice, or they don't have control over it, but they're still able to accept that, right? So um something like someone wanting to, and this is like relatable for me, but someone wanting to like move to a different country, right? Or move to a different location, but for various reasons they're unable to do so, right? And they know that that thing is going to bring them like a lot of good things, or it might change things for them, but they're still able to accept that situation. So, and so when they're able to make a list of situations that are similar to their fear and see that other people have been and can accept that, again, fear of losing control. Make a list of 10 situations where people have had no control over the situation, but they've still been able to accept that, such as a natural disaster taking away their loved ones, right? It's not something that they've been able to control. So, but they've been able to, like, obviously with a lot of hard work, but they've been able to, like, somehow adapt to their new life. So, seeing those situations really helps with that fear loop of what if XYZ happens forever, right? And that can also help see where we're being so extremely negative about OCD all the time. It can help see that, okay, because even though for moments we feel like other situations or other sufferings might be way better than OCD, but when we actually really think about it, it's like, I don't know if I would want to be in that situation, because that also sounds quite terrifying. So, yeah.
We've
Yeah,
got to be very
it's
careful as well when we are labeling it
so
as like a monster, you know, all the things that we've said. But that is reassurance, because you're saying to yourself, "Oh no, it's just my OCD, it's not me." Now straight away, I use that all the time as relief, especially with like relevant false memory, POCD, harm OCD, all the taboo type themes. I would say, "Well, no, that's not me, that's OCD," and that's just reassurance. That's a subtle compulsion.
Yeah.
Okay, we have accepting towards the worst case scenario, and that's doing the opposite by saying, "Nope, that's separate from me. That's OCD. That's not me." Now, if I talk a bit about something I did as reassurance like that, I've spoken about in my videos, but in the notes in my phone, I had mantras written out like that, and it was just list after list, like, "It's just your OCD. Don't worry. It won't be there forever." There's loads of reassurance listed like that. Now, when I got rid of that and realized that was reassurance and that was actually keeping me stuck, because I'd read that and go, right, why don't I feel better? Because 10 minutes later, OCD would latch to something else. And that mantra was no longer working. So when you see it as subtle reassurance and it really isn't getting you anywhere, I think that's when things start to change in that regard.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, I think another thing to consider, right? We, in terms of like attitudes towards anxiety and stuff, when you're like disputing your beliefs and stuff, don't try and do it from a point of like trying to be rid of it. I remember like when I used to be super triggered, right? I'd literally dart upstairs, get my pen and paper out, write my beliefs out like about 20 times, read it again and again, and hoping that it'd be gone.
Yeah,
Like the
yeah,
perspective here is not to get rid of your OCD and your anxiety. The goal here is to not to think about being rid. The goal here is to change your perspective on it, because you can't be disputing beliefs to be rid of anxiety. It's just not going to work. You have to change your perspective on it to get to robust recovery. You're not going to get rid of anxiety. You have a brain. Your brain's going to be triggered when it's anxious, right? You're not going to be able to get rid of it. It's like a built-in thing that we've evolved over millions of years without sounding like a scientist. You're not going to get rid of anxiety. We need some anxiety, so it's all about the perspective on it, which is going to be the robust recovery. And I remember like I'd try and dispute and watch videos for it to be gone, and it's a dead end road. I don't. Yeah,
it's a key point to remember. You're not chasing a feeling. So you're not trying to chase happiness. You're not trying to chase a just right, perfect feeling, because the more you do that, the further away. So,
I always say this to people as well, that the purpose of disputing, or even the purpose of the one-to-one calls, is not to immediately make your mind change right there on the spot, right? I mean, sometimes obviously while you're on the call, there are light bulb moments. I'm not saying there aren't, but that's not what the purpose is geared towards. That, oh, you're doing this so that you walk away from the call completely, like, with this new enlightenment. That's not how it, and that's what sometimes is frustrating to people, because by the end of the call, when they haven't had that like kick of relief, they feel quite annoyed and frustrated, because they're like, this entire conversation, why didn't I think any better? But I say this to them. I say the purpose of the one-to-one calls and even the disputing exercises is to put a new perspective out there, for the sake of it, even, right? Putting a new perspective out there and putting new ideas on paper, and just like keeping them in your back pocket and just like walking away, right? And the conversation that someone is having on a one-to-one call with me right now, it might click maybe a month later or 2 months later. It might be like, oh, that information makes much more sense now, even though logically you might understand it, but it clicks like in retrospect. Alexander, go ahead, you were about to say something.
I always see it like when we are disputing or watching videos from the channel, and you see that these ideas are really rational and logical.
still there, Alex? I guess not.
Guys,
To believe it. And I remember
Alexander,
when,
hold on. You froze in the middle. Can you kind of repeat like the last 10-15 seconds of what you say?
So I told that we always need time to absorb this idea in order to really believe it. And always when we are disputing, we can dispute and feel no relief, and it's good. But like after some period of time, you are So you just see thing in a new you can see a thing in a new perspective.
And there's also remembering that you might come off a one-to-one call, you might be triggered. Okay, you might even feel worse because you're going to hear stuff you're not going to want to hear. Okay, you're not going to get bundles of reassurance on a one-to-one call. You're going to hear a new perspective. You're going to hear your beliefs being challenged. Okay, so it's a key point to remember. Just because you're triggered doesn't mean there's 10 steps backwards.
I literally had someone the other day on a call say that that I still stand by my beliefs. I just want to get rid of OCD, but I stand by my beliefs. And I said that's just not how it works. Like it's, I mean, you can't like get rid of anxiety without like, changing the way you think about things. And I think this is like a sneaky little thing that people try to do, which is like, it's like, imagine if you're sitting in an exam and you get a question about, not getting political over here, but like, you have to argue for a political perspective A and political perspective B. That's the question that you have to do, right? And you personally believe in B, but you know that writing the A perspective is going to get you more marks. So you just do it. And you're like, oh, I'm just going to do it because I've been assigned it and I know this is what I'm supposed to do, but I'm still going to cling on to B. And you're like, oh, I'm going to get the marks and I'm going to, like, pass with flying colors. That's kind of how, like, not how it works with OCD. Like, you can't fake your beliefs through it. Like, it has to come with like a genuine shift in having to think about things in a different angle.
Yeah.
It's like Albert Einstein said that you can solve the problem in the same level of consciousness that it has been created. So it never works on the same level of beliefs.
Yeah, that's so true. And like, I found as well when I was doing my beliefs, there'd be some times when I'd be disputing and like there'd just be no perspective change. But then, as Alex said earlier, you'll get that light bulb moment as you sort of progress along the journey. It would come completely randomly out of the blue, and it'll just be that extra layer that just comes off. Not when you're forcing it, just when you're going about your day, and you just get that perspective shift. As long as you're putting the work in, there's gonna be a lot of times where you sit down of an evening, dispute your beliefs, and do your reading, and nothing's gonna happen. You're gonna feel in exactly the same spot. You might even feel like you've taken a backward step considering the day you've just had. But it's that bit by bit, chipping away, chipping away, chipping away, and then that's where those perspective shifts like come when you least expect it. So yeah, you can't expect every disputing session to be a really fruitful one because it's just not gonna work like that. It's a bit by bit process.
And you've also got to remember that the beliefs that you currently hold are innate conditioned beliefs. I mean, you've held those beliefs for a very long time. So to change them and to see things in a rational outlook, that's going to take a little while. You can't just click your fingers and then you see something in a different light. It's going to take ages. It's going to take time. Yes, you can try, but you can't force it. But you can certainly try and do it. But just remember, that's going to take time. And like you said, it's light bulb moments throughout time. And it can happen when you least expect it, like you say. So if you're trying to dispute and then sit down and go, "Why don't I feel better?" then that's chasing that feeling that we talk about.
Yeah, a lot of the
Yeah, and
things
also,
clicked for me, like you said, in unexpected moments. It wasn't like I was looking for a click. It
Yeah.
was just like, oh, what?
Yeah. Sorry, I remember I was sat in an airport coming back from holiday, and I literally had the biggest perspective shift, and I was like, "Wow, that's so random!" Like it's just sort of come to me out of nowhere. I remember I was sat at Frankfurt Airport coming back from Germany, and I just had a massive perspective shift because I was putting in the work before, and I just had this shift, and I was like, okay, that's the next layer gone." But I work for that, as we all have, and as people watching it need to. You need to work for those moments.
And also, I think we should expect when we think that we catch this new rational perspective, after some period of time, we can go back to our irrational beliefs for some period of time, and it's okay as well because those irrational beliefs were held so long that we can, especially when we are speaking, like our society are pretty irrational, so we can go back to again to those irrational beliefs. So we
That's
need
a
just more time to
Very
absorb
good
it
that's a
fully.
very, very good point. And I think I want to like briefly just talk about that as well. That's a very relevant point because like let's say you grow up in a certain environment and culture and family, and each family has, different sets of, practices, traditions, values, all those things, right? And so like living with family, right, or living around family, you are able to, let's say I'm I live with my family, right? So let's say that living with my family and working on OCD, I've had to like change a lot of my perspectives on different things, and there are a lot of things I don't agree with my family on, right? And this is not even just oh, after working on OCD, like it's even like before, right? Obviously, everyone has like different views from the family members as well, but there are a lot of like commonly shared beliefs too. So obviously, when I see that they are, when I think that, oh, they're actually being like super irrational about something, or they're like judging someone too harshly or something, I have a different perspective on it. But when I go out of that environment, let's say like I'm traveling right now, right? So when I'm on my own, just as an individual person, sometimes I will think something or say something, and for a minute I'll be like, oh god, that was so my dad, like what am I doing? And so, and because obviously those are things that you have grown up seeing, your brain has absorbed them, and there's a certain level of like conditioning over there as well that takes time to change. And then like when yeah, so I'm not going to go into an example because I'm just going to then go off like on a long tangent. But like I would do things that I would find annoying about my dad at home, but I will do them myself while I'm traveling on my own. So then I'll be like, no, I don't want to be that person. And so then I try to do things differently to be like, okay, let me do what I rationally think should
Yeah.
happen, even though I don't feel it. And so that there's certain elements of that linger with you, but it's always about keeping like your practice up of changing your thinking and changing your behaviors constantly. So yeah.
I think it's also important to remember that if you do slip back into your rational thinking, to not beat yourself up, because quite often when you have a relapse and setback, you know it sort of creeps back in. You know sort of the old thinking's coming back, the black and white rigid thinking. So maybe just brush up on the tools there, but don't beat yourself up if you do slip back into your rational thinking, because like I said earlier, that you've held them for such a long time. You're not going to quickly change your beliefs and then never go back to your rational thinking, because it takes time. It's not just the quick, right, I've learned a new belief and that means I believe it. No, that's not how it works.
Definitely, there's like thousands of opportunities to like change your beliefs. You know, after every trigger, after every anxiety spike, there's another chance to sort of move towards recovery. You get unlimited chances, you know, and with like your beliefs as well. Like, you know, there's no limit to how much you can change your belief. Like your brain's like a malleable thing. It's
Yeah.
not stuck at this certain point in time. You know, we sort of grow and we learn new things, adopt new skills, behaviors, and we're always changing. So, you know, we think right now in your situation where you're so stuck and you can't see a way out. Well, there is a way out. Your perspective will change. You just need to sort of, you know, exercise your brain to change your perspectives. And yeah, it takes a bit of time, but it can be done. You know, there's
And
always
a quick thing on that is also just even outside of when we say that, every trigger or setback, like even if we put like the OCD lens on the side for a moment as well, it's also just random life perspectives too, you know. Um, which is like I just a few weeks ago I was crossing this suspension bridge, which there was a river underneath, which was going by really fast. And if I went down there, I was wearing a life jacket, of course. But if I fell down there, I don't know what would have happened. But I was crossing a suspension bridge because it was just that adventurous thing to do, and it was like I've never seen myself as someone who is like very adventurous like that or like takes those kinds of risks. And but when it came time to do it, I didn't even think about it. I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's do it. And after it was done, I just thought, wait, like I didn't even pause for a second to think about it. Like, and so again, it's just like it's not even OCD or anything. It's just a random life experience that kind of had like it made me reflect on just like myself a little bit. I was like, wait, I think I like doing things that bring a thrill and excitement and that are kind of like a little dangerous but also fun. So yeah, so those perspective shifts keep happening in life, just like with any human, by the way. So even if you put like the OCD lens aside, perspective, it's not like, oh, I've recovered from OCD, therefore what my perspectives are right now are going to remain there forever and this is it. No, it's not like a dead end. Like it kind of keeps evolving and going.
And also, Elliot, what you were saying, it's not like you get one final trigger and that's it.
yeah.
Yeah.
From that, yes, it can be a very bad trigger. It can hit you back. It can be very, very difficult, of course, but it doesn't mean that's it. No way out. I mean, you can learn to overcome that, and it's just a big learning opportunity. Like Alexander said, it's a learning curve. It's a chance to overcome that particular hurdle.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're always there's a thousand different ways to respond. Like, you know, with each trigger that comes, you can just get better and better. Like, it's going to take a bit of practice. Like, you might get triggered, and then in that moment, you're really going to want to get rid of it. So with each trigger that comes, you just need to. It is like practicing. It's like practicing a skill in a way. Like sitting with discomfort in the initial stages, you're going to want to push it away, but you just need to get better at sitting with it and not pushing it away. But that's going to take time, and you get so many new second chances. You know, you're not just like stuck at a point in time when you can't do that. You for each trigger that comes, you've got a new opportunity to, you know, chip away at it, you know, if you know what I'm trying to say.
You'll usually find that it does link into about 3 to 4 core fears in a crafty way. It might not be obvious, but usually find that it may be fear of rejection, fear of losing control, fear of losing connection, like, and it might be different themes or different fears, but you tend to know that it all relates to sort of one big core fear.
Yeah, definitely.
I all
Go ahead.
always seen it like you said that there are 3 or 4 big core fears, and all they are cemented by fear or fear that like keep them together. And yeah, it takes time, therefore.
Fear is such a big one.
Yeah.
So many, so it kept me stuck for years. But I just didn't know what I was stuck with. I'm scared of being stuck forever. Monitoring every feeling, measuring everything. And then we start breaking down the fear of being stuck forever.
Yeah, I just want to give an example as well of like a perspective, like a perspective example, basically. So I was sat at a football game the other day. You know, I always try and time football right. A team scores, right? There's 20,000 fans are cheering, and the other 20,000 they're all despairing, right? The same situation has happened. The ball has gone into the back of the net. There's 20,000 people that find it really good, and there's 20,000 people that find it really bad. So clearly there's a perspective difference in the same event, right? So you need to try and think about that with the anxiety. You can either think of it as really, really bad, like some of those fans did, or you can try and think of it in a healthy way. I know it's very uncomfortable. I know it's tough, but you can change your perspective. And I think that's just a good example of how like perspective just can sort of change things. I know it's anxiety and it's a different ball game, but
Also, it can all, I mean, people sitting at home also watching might have like a third opinion about the thing as well. They might be blaming the thing more on the goalkeeper rather than the player who did, like,
And the
so I mean, it's or people who believe that things are rigged or the referee was unfair, like
yeah,
5 minutes ago. That's why this goal was about to happen. Like there
yeah,
can be like multiple different perspectives on the same thing then.
Anyway, that's
exactly.
a good point. But the thing is now we'll have people celebrating the other team's goal on purpose now.
Yeah.
Then
But I think it's just such a good analogy because it just shows you how that same event can just be seen so differently by different people. Like I just think it's amazing.
a lot of people will be able to relate to that as well. A lot of football fans watch these videos, so yeah, it's a great example.
Yeah, I just got me thinking the other day. You know, when you're just sort of watching football and you have all these deep OCD thoughts. I just thought about that rather than watching the game. Like, I just sat there thinking how irrational a football game is anyway. Because people are like, oh, the referee must not give that free kick. The referee must not blow. It's just irrational, isn't it? Really, I think when you move through the recovery journey, you just you're probably the most rational person out there, and you just sort of laugh at how irrational society is. I think it's quite a funny quirk of being further down the recovery journey.
Yeah. Guys, I think we've pretty much covered like a lot of different aspects of this topic, and like again, thanks Elliot, good topic recommendation. And yeah, I think it's going to be important for a lot of people to hear this. And granted, changing that internal attitude towards OCD can be difficult, especially when all you see on forums and pages is like OCD is like the worst thing, it's a monster, it's a bully, you need to antagonize it, you need to see it as the enemy. And of course, it can be when you get sucked into that, it can be difficult to step away from it, but try your best to start doing that and see if there is a different perspective out there that can be a little more peaceful and where you can have a bit more mental clarity and a bit more stability in yourself to be able to see things differently and slowly make your way out of this. So yeah, that's my little bow in the end to wrap up the conversation. Guys, thanks for being here. As always, good to have this chat, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for watching.
Take care, guys.
Yeah, bye bye.
Bye.